Roger Williams. I'm treasurer and board member of the Food, Faith, and Farming Network. And it's my pleasure to meet you. Our purpose today is to bring together the recipients of our seed money grants this past year and to hear from your stories about what you've done with your seed money grants and to try and encourage more networking. Our goal has been networking at your level, at your community level, but we're wanting to encourage more networking with each other and with our network, and we hope with the broader community over time. So that's really our goal today. First, I want to acknowledge some people, if I could, and first acknowledgement would be for the sponsors of our seed money grants, the funders of our seed money grants. Bader Philanthropies funded a series of 5 listening sessions in 2022, and then that spun out into seed money grants in southeastern Wisconsin. So they funded our seed money grants last year in 2023. And in 2024, the seed money grants have been funded by an anonymous donor. And we're very appreciative for that funding support. We're also thankful for the Red Circle Inn, which provided this amazing space, as well as, in my mind, a good meal. I hope you enjoyed it as well. So thanks for that. And thanks to Zariah Whitaker, our right-hand person here, who has put the details for this event together, and is also our media person, not only kind of moving the slides along, but also filming the event. So thank you, Zariah. And then also thanks to all of you who've taken the time to develop presentations for today. We look forward to hearing from you and look forward to your stories of what you've done with seed money grants. We'd also like to share a quote, if I could, from Food as Sacramental in Food and Faith, which was written and edited by Michael Schutt. And here's what he says: if we begin to think of ourselves as participants in agriculture, we might begin to ask questions. Where and how is our food grown? Are those who planted, tended, and harvested our food treated as pawns in the global food economy? Or do they own their land, and are they therefore more likely to care for its long-term health? To realize that our food choices influence not only our own health, but also the health of the land in rural communities is to move toward taking responsibility for our own participation. In accepting such responsibility, we honor the community connections that bring us our daily bread. I think that quote kind of captures what we're about with the Food, Faith, and Farming Network. A few words about the network, if I could. We started out in the 1980s with the farm crisis, and I might add that I don't think the farm crisis ever really ended with the 1980s. It's gone on and on and on. But anyway, we started out in the 80s as the Church's Center for Land and People, an organization that understood the critical importance of land and the critical importance of people who steward the land in order to make it a successful venture. In 2016, we changed our name to the Food, Faith, and Farming Network for 2 reasons. Number 1, we're more of a network than a center. And number 2, we wanted to be responsive to people of all faiths, not just the Christian faith. And so that's why we changed our name, and I personally think it's fitting us much better than Church's Center for Land and People. Our network is an all-volunteer organization with the following mission. Food, Faith, and Farming Network gives voice to the sacred connections between land and people. We foster rural and urban relationships and promote earth stewardship, community, spirituality, and economic justice through healthy food and sustainable farming practices. In 2018, we conducted a series of 5 listening sessions in southwestern Wisconsin. And for the past 6 years, we've been supporting seed money grants in southwestern Wisconsin. And the focus there was to reinvigorate what I would call the self-help mutual support dynamic that existed at one time in small rural communities. You know, the era of barn raisings and threshing bees and quilting bees, where people stood largely on their own, but they also helped each other, especially during crisis times. And we've been trying to do that in southwestern Wisconsin. That initiative was so successful, we approached Bader Philanthropies and asked for funding to do 5 listening sessions in southeastern Wisconsin, and carried out those 5 listening sessions in 2022. And then for the past 2 years, we have been supporting seed money grants in this part of the state. So our network currently has 2 main initiatives. One would be the seed money grants that I just described to you, with a focus on the self-help mutual support focus in southwest Wisconsin, and more of a rural-urban kind of focus in southeastern Wisconsin. Given the nature of this area, the rural-urban dynamics is what we were focusing on. And then that's been one of our major foci, and the other major focus is winter farmers markets. We've been supporting those since 2004. That goes back a long ways. It's our longest running initiative, and Lynn Parkhurst has been coordinating that for the past, how many years, Lynn?
5.
5 sounds right to me. And they bring together farm and rural producers who produce local sustainable foods in the fellowship halls of churches, and trying to serve the food needs of urbanites, as well as trying to provide financial support to farm families during the winter months. It's been a very successful initiative for several years now, and there will be 5 winter farmers markets planned in southeastern Wisconsin during this winter season. So thank you, Lynn, for your leadership on that, and that's been our second and longest running initiative. Our seed money projects have really been focused on 4 issues. We've used 4 criteria to decide on the seed money grants. The first one is there a significant problem or issue that's being addressed? Secondly, is there a thoughtful, innovative approach to dealing with that problem or issue? Third, can you pull together a network of people and organizations to address that issue? And fourth, can you demonstrate the energy and enthusiasm and commitment to make it happen? So those have been the 4 criteria that we've used to decide on the seed money grants that have been chosen for both southwestern and southeastern Wisconsin. Similar set of criteria. So keep those criteria in mind as people report on their projects. And I'd like to turn it over to Trudy at this point, who will introduce the different groups, who will then report on their projects for the past year. And it'll be such things as something about the organization, something about the goals of the project, something about successes, and perhaps something about challenges as well. And I suspect all of you have experienced some challenges as well. So Trudy?
Thank you, Roger. I'm always jealous of people who can present without looking at a note. I will be looking at my notes. So I'm very excited to be able to get started with the presentations. And just wanted to let you know that we're going to hold questions until the very end. So we're sure that each presenter gets the amount of time they need. Hopefully you can remember what your question is by the time we get to the end. But I hope you all had a good conversation during lunch, and looking forward to hearing more from all of you. So our first presenters are going to be from the School District of Waukesha. It's Erica Yost and Molly Havenschneider. and they have a program called Embedded Agriculture, which provides students with hands-on gardening and farming experiences that promote environmental stewardship. Our seed money helps support an expansion of their hydroponics initiative and the introduction of a new mentoring system that connects students with master gardeners. Welcome to the podium. Thank you.
We're gonna use our teacher voices if that's okay. We're gonna hold the mic. I love a good mic. If you need us to use the mic, just tell us. We're okay. All right, so thank you for including us again. How many were here last year? Just real quick, only a few, okay. I'm gonna give a little bit of a backstory because we were a gracious recipient last year for our first seed grant. So last year we actually talked about a farm to classroom initiative, bringing in hydroponic units. Oh, wait, probably should introduce myself. Trudy, I did the same thing. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Molly Hoppenshield, and I'm the Career Technical Education Coordinator for the School District of Waukesha. So I support our Family Consumer Science, Tech Ed, and Business Ed at 612.
And I am Erin Bios. I'm the K-12 Science and Environmental Education Coordinator for the district. But we share an office, so that's kind of how this started.
So last year we came here to share with you a little bit about how this all came about. With Erica's work in environmental education, we're gracious and lucky to have an environmental education program and center in the city of Waukesha. And on that campus there is a greenhouse and a garden. Lovely, right? Wonderful. She came to me, we sit next to each other, so that also helps. But she came to me and said, Molly, we have an abundance of things from the garden, and we just, while we donate and things like that, but would your kids want to cook with it in the culinary classes? And I was like, yes, absolutely, let's do this, let's figure this out. But we didn't want it just to be like giving them things to cook with. We wanted to make sure that we were doing something more with it. And in Waukesha, the city of, we are the 7th largest school district, pretty suburban, not a lot of farming anymore, and zero agriculture education. Zero. In fact, Waukesha County in general, I can name one school district that has that. So we thought, how can we kind of sneak this in? How can we get some education for our students about where does their food come from and how might we source it? And the garden, it's providing us this thing. What can we do with it? So that's where we really started, and then that's where that first seed grant came in. We outdoor gardens are great, but in Wisconsin, are they great all year? No, and when are we in school? Not when the gardens are really doing what they need to do. So we used the seed money to start hydroponics with our students in our culinary classes. So the initial seed grant went for a very small unit, a little bit bigger than that, let's be real. But we brought our travel garden along just to show how easy it is. We set that up 24 days ago. Filled it with water, put the nutrients in, put the plant seeds in, and we brought it today. We haven't harvested anything. We just added water and nutrients so far. I'm not a gardener. Good job me, right? And that first hydroponic unit, while it was small, gave us a chance to pilot what it would look like for students to actually be part of the farm-to-table planning, tending their actual crop, and then cooking with it and seeing the difference. So that's kind of how it started, and then it evolved a little bit more into we need to make this a thing. So we have come up with the term embedded agriculture. Again, sneaking it in with what we do anyways. So teaching the students about what it is to be an environmental steward, how to understand where their food sources are, how they can garden as simple as having something in their windowsill at home. Trying to encourage that understanding and belief.
So as we were kind of going through our program and figuring out what we wanted to do, our main goal was to make sure this wasn't just going to be teacher dependent or one school dependent, and if that person leaves, we're done. So we came up with a team and then our goals. So our main goals were student and staff education, sustainable gardening, farm-to-table cooking, and community connections. The second phase has been really focused on the student and staff education, and that's what we were able to use some of the seed money for over the summer and this past school year. so that we can build more of that student and staff education. So we'll kind of talk through what that looks like for us.
So the seed money, again, like Erica said, really went into more of the education. While last year we focused really on just getting the systems in place, adding the big hydroponic units at each of our high schools and now at our middle schools. This summer was more spent on how the master gardener that happens to also work for our environmental ed program, which works really great, can actually work with our teachers so that the teachers are not dependent on her. She's lovely. She comes in and supports them. She teaches them what she needs to about the actual gardening process, plants, etc. And then she also works with them to understand if I'm going to make pesto, how much basil do I need, and how soon do I need to plant it in the hydroponic unit so that I can use it. So that was a lot of the work that she's been doing and building up a system for her to work with those teachers to empower them. She can come in and give the lessons with the classes, but we're trying to make it a train-the-trainer type model. So she can model the first lesson, the teacher feels empowered to do it moving forward. You know, we basically told the culinary teachers, like, here you go, you're doing this, whether you like plants or not. And we have one teacher that's like, I love plants, give me more, I'll take more units. And we have one that's like, what is a plant? We have the whole gamut. So it was really about making sure they felt comfortable with the support. So we built out some tools. One is a mentor log so that she can keep track of what she's doing with each of the teachers, what she needs to report back to us on, so that they can keep track of all the dialogue. She built this wonderful spreadsheet for predicting growing patterns in our hydroponic unit. She keeps fine tweaking it. So again, if I want basil on blank date, how many days ahead do I need to plant it and how much? She also created a system to track the harvests so we know about how much we're harvesting at any point. So last school year, we did a quick calculation. If we were comparing, we just grow leafy greens and herbs. If we compare that to an organic purchase at a grocery store, we netted over $2,000, and that was even before the end of the school year. So we know it's saving our students money, or our classrooms money, and it's providing them a much more nutritious ingredient. We also built in, we call it the pantry E because environmental ed, we use EE. We love abbreviations. The pantry EE is like our internal CSA. So her garden and greenhouse and our hydroponic units sometimes are unpredictable, or we have excess of things, and so we use it to kind of crowdsource within our own system. There's garlic in there from summer, and teachers say, I need some garlic for this recipe, and then it just shows up, it's lovely. Or I have an extra amount of basil, I've dried it, it can go to the pantry. And then again, the menu planning, helping them understand how they can start to incorporate that in. We were lucky because we get to go and try a lot of the things that the students are making. So they did a unit where they actually had to menu plan with one ingredient that they started in the hydroponic unit. Could have been anything. And then at the end, we got to taste it all. But it was so fun to see, like, oh, we're making, I don't know, something. I'm gonna think of a really good example real quick.
Maybe tacos.
Oh yeah, tacos. They literally walk over and they're like, you know what, I think this would be really good in it. And they were just like, clip some herbs and went on their way. So it became part of their normal routine to just go and utilize fresh ingredients right in their classroom, like literally right there.
So I want to talk a little bit about this too, but not only having the mentor program through the school year and having the mentor, but having some summer teacher development. So with teachers being a 10-month contract, to be able to bring them in, we need to pay them for their time as they deserve to be paid for their time. So having that ability to bring them in and do some learning with them, how to do that reverse menu planning, teaching them to use those tools that our master gardener created. We also did an urban water station for all of the staff in the school district to start to spread awareness of what is going on. Like, this is just tucked away in a family consumer science classroom, but hey, did you know this is growing? The science teachers are like, wait, what's going on with it? How do we get that? Teachers are like, how do we get one? Can we get one? But really building that awareness and understanding with all of the staff, and then a deeper understanding with our family consumer science teachers so that they can understand that menu planning that isn't just the grocery store, and helping them take that knowledge and spread it to their students. We always knew we wanted to do more education, but we need to make sure our staff feels comfortable leading that work. We can handle lessons there, but if they don't have that deeper understanding, it's gonna be much more difficult for them to lead it with their students. And we talk about it as
Oh, shoot, okay. And then the last piece was with our environmental education staff, they're really the ones that are coming into the classroom and leading these lessons about the embedded agriculture, about farming, about food. They are really great at knowing that stuff, but sometimes we take for granted that as trained educators, we have the ability to understand how to lesson plan and how to get kids doing certain things for us and get them compliant and engaged and excited. So we did partner with one of our instructional leaders in our district to help that team understand how they can design these lessons to best fit a middle school student or a high school student. So there was some instructional planning that went with them so that they can use those teaching techniques in the lessons that they do with their students.
I mean, even if you just look at this slide, you can see there's a bunch of acronyms and things
Oh,
that
yeah.
probably make no sense if you're not a teacher. But understanding why we need to teach a certain way and that classroom management strategies and how you incorporate some of these questioning techniques and collaboration so that students are talking and they're writing and they're moving and all those things that trained educators have a lot of background in, but our informal educators don't have time or access to that information. Some other things that we just want to highlight that we're really excited about. We've had a lot of amazing things kind of come from this collaboration with Embedded Ed. We've been able to connect to a lot of celebration meals with our community. We were able to bring in our school board, our local farmers or restaurants, people, WCTC, other groups that have supported us, kind of get more network and connections, which has been amazing. We've had the middle school programs that started to use these. We're working on building a relationship with our food service providers, so having again, we're a large district, and having a food service provider on top of it adds those layers, but building that connection is going to be amazing. We want to make sure that our students can work with them and go forward down there. We're working on some composting and waste reduction processes. We're piloting at one of our elementary schools, working with Compost Crusaders. We had some pilots with a pig farmer who came up and got our scraps from our cooking classes. So we're working on ways to build that in. And then one of our main focuses through Environmental Ed has been gardening for all and making sure that we have inclusive gardening spaces. And we have some amazing educators who have written some grants beyond what we've done through Environmental Ed for Embedded Ed to have raised garden beds that are accessible for wheelchairs, tools that are accessible for all. And we've been really making sure we want everyone to know that they can be a gardener. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, that everyone can do that.
And ultimately, we just want to say thank you to this group because you helped make these things possible. The work of embedded agriculture was completely grant funded from various organizations this big more alone. And that is, I think, something to celebrate just because it is, if we went to our district and said, can we do this? They'd be like, sure, you want to pay for it? And this made it possible for us to really make sure our students in Waukesha have the ability to see what farming, what agricultural practices, and how it can impact their food sources. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so great to hear how our students are being educated on all of these issues. I'm grateful for your work. So our next presenter is Brandis Perching. And she is with Tickum High of Milwaukee. And they run the Veggie Chop Shop, a community meal program that utilizes lean produce to prepare healthy vegetable-based meals for those struggling to access healthy food. Our seed money supported the program's desire to expand their 8-year-old program by hiring a summer intern. Would you like to join us, Brandis, and give us some more information about all you do? Thank you.
I'm loud too, so I think I can, I'm not a teacher, but I'm loud.
No, I think I'm good. I just got. So there's our logo. We are a Jewish social justice, social nonprofit. Social justice, social action nonprofit. I work in the food justice element of our work. I am the food justice director. My name is Brandis. So Tikkun Olam is a very old biblical tenement of essentially world peace, or to heal the world is kind of a nice translation. So Tikkun Hayir means repair the city, and we're repairing Milwaukee. I'm sure I have a lot to say. Sure. Okay, yeah. All right, so we work in a very urban setting in Milwaukee, but the same issues may be felt in other urban agencies or represented today, and maybe even rural agencies. But our program directly increases the amount of fresh, locally grown produce to Milwaukee's food insecure population. We divert food waste from local farmers markets into hunger relief efforts. And many of the organizations are usually serving lower quality processed foods. These are institutions such as early childcare centers that do not, they're not eligible for W-2 funding. Some of these are recovery rehabilitation centers, and a lot of them are shelter situations as well. So yeah, we prepare it and we provide it to community members, and we ensure that these nutrients will reach the consumers who need it instead of ending up in compost piles or worse, landfills. So we have some values as an organization we like to focus on. So Kahila means community. We value building bridges through collaboration. Chesed is empathy. We turn empathy into action. Tzedakah is generosity. We believe thoughtful giving empowers everyone, and aesthetic is equity. We value breaking barriers and creating opportunities. So I'm a gleaner, and a lot of people may be like, what's gleaning? It's actually, I guess it's an old biblical term. I'll do a quote. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God, Leviticus 19, 9 and 10. So that's the only Bible quote I have, just to kind of showcase how our organization fits in this community. Oh, I have to use this, sorry. So it really does take farmers, our part-time staff, and volunteers to create this community meal. So right here we have our staff that we have hired, as well as volunteers who are on board. It's been in operation for 20 years, and Veggie Chop Shop has been, Tikkun Hayir has been in operation for Veggie Chop Shop, or for 20 years, and Veggie Chop Shop is going into its 10th year. We've steadily gained momentum, gleaning and delivering more produce to meet increased demand. This year we gleaned over 10,000 pounds of produce, and we cooked about 5,000 community meals. Actually, it was like 6,020. And I mentioned the recipients before. So it's kind of like the bummer part of my conversation, but this is to show why we do our work. This is a map I found indicating where identified groups live in Milwaukee. This is not unusual between redlining, white flight, and loss of economic opportunity in the inner city has led to a lot of communities that are isolated from each other and many necessary services in our city. We focus a lot in certain zip codes. 53209 is a 53210, 53218, or 53208. So this photo shows part of Northwest Milwaukee. Those are some of the zip codes I mentioned. 80% are Black. The median annual income is about $18,000, and 46% of the residents live below the poverty line. There has been studies that say it's one of the, I think this is a Reggie Jackson historian quote, but it's the second worst city in the whole country for Black home ownership behind Minneapolis. And the startling statistic with health, because I
I'm feeding people, is that the life expectancy for white and walking is nearly 75, while the average life expectancy for a black counterpart is only 62. So let's just show some inequities in our city and why we're focusing on them. And then this other map is showing that underserved retail food zone. So adding to the circumstances of those facing poverty, there's an unreliable and slow bus system. Residents sometimes have to transfer at least twice to get to one food store with services. It's not really safe to be a pedestrian or a cyclist. And retailers that are in low-income areas end up closing due to citing theft and violence. And these are also some systemic issues that communities face when you really just deny access to necessary services, including employment. So let's go to this bummer part of my presentation. This is part of the 20,000 pounds with other grant money had created a cooler with a cool box. If you've ever heard one of those, we took a shed and insulated it and put an air conditioning and a cool bot unit. It goes off a Wi-Fi jumper. And this is just, that's when it's just really full of hundreds of pounds of produce. This is us gleaning from a farm, filling someone's Tesla. So yeah, we worked at a food hub that I would say fed well over 1,000 individuals a week. This is a very multi-faith place. We run a kitchen in all people's gathering church kitchen, and St. Vincent de Paul also cooks hot meals out of there. So St. Vincent de Paul cooks about 600 hot meals a week. And then they have a very robust food pantry and produce stand that are already operating through their church ministry. And we're just another counterpart. And yes, I keep using the wrong arrow, sorry. So this was our intern this year. This was Micah. Micah not only helped at Veggie Chop Shop with the operations, and I'd just like to point out it was kind of bonkers this year. I usually have about 6 to 8 volunteers from the community, nice retired people, and people have a little extra time. And we included people who were in a release program at Milwaukee Women's Correctional Center, and they brought, I think, 13 people. So I had to 20 volunteers, so I had to up all my knives, my peelers, my cutting boards to chop those vegetables, also literally running around to get them washed produce because they did it so fast. They would also help the farm stand adjacent with All People's Church. They would help prep the foods farm stand as well as do some gardening, some weeding, and then we would give them a lunch event. So unfortunately I don't have any pictures of that because I don't know if we had a release from the corrections facility, but I do have those pictures in my heart. But Micah, she could pose for pictures. So not only did she help with Veggie Chop Shop, and this was concierge front of house position to give these people this amazing volunteer experience, she also oversaw gleaning at one of our farmers markets on a consistent basis. So one gleaning opportunity I have goes directly to our food program every week at the Fondy Market, which is overseen by Venus Williams. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of her. And then we get another donation every week from the Brown Deer Farmers Market, which Micah would oversee through October, thankfully, through the senior year. And we got that food directly to the JCC Pantry, which is on 29th Center, right in the northwest side of Milwaukee. And yeah, that's it. This is just kind of saying thank you for your help. This is just showing us making cider with lead apples, which is pretty cool. We do a celebratory meal at the end of our season with all our partners. This is just showing kind of like, that would have been thrown away. How beautiful does that food look? And this is some of the donations that I receive regular cleaning. So, thank you again. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. It's so exciting to hear about your program and how long it's been going on and how successful you were this year with the student intern. That's great that you had that help this year. The next presentation is going to be from the Racine Urban Garden Network Relocation Project. Cindy Sellers at the network manages community gardens across Racine. The network is looking to expand 3 of their 9 gardens so they can relocate gardeners that will be displaced due to the city's request to shrink the size of their main community garden. So our seed money will help them build additional beds and improve the 3 gardens in an effort to accommodate the displaced gardeners. So Cindy?
So I'm Cindy Sellers, and this is Donna Del Mar. Donna is the president of the organization, and I'm the vice president and treasurer too, so a little overcommitted at the moment. But Donna's gonna start us off.
You push down.
Down.
All right, well, hi, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us to be here and for your help with our efforts. So we're the Racine Urban Garden Network, or affectionately called Riggin. And so what we're going to do is introduce ourselves today and then talk to you a little bit about our seed money project. So who is Riggin? We're a very small nonprofit organization in Racine, and we operate or oversee 9 community gardens throughout the city. And I think it's very fortuitous that we follow Brandis' presentation, because take what she talked about in terms of the city of Milwaukee and the socioeconomic challenges, shrink it, and you have the city of Racine. So we do have a lot of neighborhoods that are predominantly minority, that are in what we call food deserts, and whose main source of food are either bodegas, which are incredibly expensive and have very little fresh food, or it's cheaper to feed your kid off the dollar menu at McDonald's, of which there is a lot of fast food places in these neighborhoods. So our mission is to provide knowledge, support, and resources to anyone who wants to grow their own food. And it's a little bit of like, feed a man for a day, give him a fish, but teach him how to fish and that they can eat forever. And so our purpose is to try to not only give people the resources in these neighborhoods to grow their own food, but also to educate them on the value of good nutrition and eating fresh foods. And now, or more recently, I know it's not up here, we're extending that to work with our local school district similar to what you're doing, to educate children on healthy eating and the link between growing your own food and nutrition and health. So this is our board, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are a couple of people who are missing. These are our newest board members, Alex Weinberg, Jillian Craig, and Abigail Kessler. And so we're not a big group, and we are all volunteer. So as I said, our mission is to provide knowledge-based tools and resources to everyone in Racine. And I know I apologize for all the text on this slide. It's just to show you that recently we did go through a strategic plan. And so we have been putting out goals we did a 3-year plan, so we'll probably do it again. But our main areas of focus are people, space, community, and funding. So those are our 4 main areas. Excuse me, my voice isn't very good today. We have a number of ways to communicate with our gardeners and with the public. We have a website. We also have a social media Facebook page. We are not on Instagram as of yet. Most of the board members are a little older, but we do have a few younger board members who are trying to encourage them to help us with that. And then we have a newsletter that goes out to everybody once a quarter. We also hold workshops because a new initiative is to, educate the public and as well as the kids. So we focus on things like composting, organic gardening practices, companion gardening, food preservation, and then also we did present to a middle school class, 7th grade science class, which was very interesting. For those of you who are teachers, it's a little bit like herding cats. and they're definitely doing God's work, I can tell you that. On soil health. So I'm going to pass this over to Cindy to talk about the project.
Okay, so our project was to expand 3 of our 9 community gardens so that we could relocate some of the gardeners who were going to be displaced. As we said, from the largest garden, which the city was on city property, and they've asked us to just make that smaller because they have decided to sell that property. They don't know when it might be sold, but they wanted us to shrink our footprint. So we plan to use the seed money to build additional beds at 3 of our other gardens that we identified as having an opportunity for growth, so that we could offer a positive place for the displaced donors to go. So we identified 3 gardens. We found that one was also at risk for sale, so that wasn't good news, but also one decided they didn't want to devote any more space, so that left us with one final garden that was very open to expansion and had plenty of room to do that, and that was the St. Paul Garden. It's fairly close. I've circled it in green, the gardens that we considered, and the red one is the one that's being shrunk. And so we decided to focus on St. Paul because it's fairly close to the one that was being closed or shrunk. There was available space, and we already have a garden manager there that's very engaged. So the full cost of the project was estimated to be about $5,000, so we continue to work on funding. We have used some of the money to repair some of the plots. We have raised beds at some of them and just surrounds on some of the others. So we have used some of the money for that, but we're also continuing to look for money. We've gotten some money from We Energy, so that's another organization that we're collaborating with. Also, the Racine Kenosha Potpourri Garden Club has been very generous over the years for us. And we're planning on applying for several other grants to fill out that need. And we hope to be able to do the work in this next growing season. And St. Paul, here's an example of one of the things we were able to do a flower bed here at St. Paul and to repaint this sign. It probably was gray painted. Yeah, not quite done, some missing flowers, but it was getting pretty rag looking. I think it was done like 1980s last, so it was, this is a refresh. So we're also, the other partner organizations that we're working with is the Eco Justice Center. They are actually taking a lot of our composting, our waste, garden waste, and composting in their larger composting system. I mentioned the Potpourri Garden Club. The Racine Parks Department is also being very generous with their time and efforts. They're helping us to work on a new teaching garden that Donna's going to talk about in a second. And we're also talking with the Racine Community Fund about making that leap from an all-volunteer organization to one with paid positions, maybe an executive director, some paid garden managers. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Donna's going to talk a little bit about sort of our next project, our proposed teaching garden.
So I'm sure it comes as no surprise, I got this from the website of the American Heart Association. 1/3 of U.S. children are overweight or obese, putting them at higher risk for heart disease, diabetes, or stroke. So very young children are having the same sort of health issues that we used to only see in older adults. And a lot of this is attributed to diet and lack of activity and probably some other stuff. So connecting children to gardens can help address food security, especially lower income children who might not always have access to that kind of food, and encourage environmental stewardship. So we also want the garden to be a learning environment. I know a lot of the schools in our district, they do try to do this sort of thing similar to you guys in the classroom. But how might we encourage sort of outdoor learning labs by having space for them to go to? So we're now working with the City of Racine Parks Department and Racine School District to create this and to collaborate. We've identified a site. We have a preliminary garden design and now we're reviewing it. So we're moving it along. It's a lot slower than we had hoped. but we're still plugging away at it. Here is the park. It's Robert Heck Park, which is right near the airport in Racine. And it's really not being used, and you don't have a light thing, do you? No? So this used to be a skating rink, ice rink over here that's not used as such anymore, and that's the space that they've designated for our garden. So we're going to engage in soil testing next, and that's our next step. Sister Janet, you're making a face.
I see it's on Donna Avenue.
It is on Donna Avenue. We thought that was kind of fortuitous. So we're hoping to have like 30 plus raised beds, a fence. We're trying to convince them to pay for a pole barn for us. So we can have storage and maybe an indoor teaching area, small and large group outdoor teaching area, pollinator garden. It would be nice to be a monarch way station. Maybe a high tunnel, definitely composting. And I know we've talked to the NRCS about conservation, funding for conservation initiatives. So maybe a water reclamation system or some sort of a micro irrigation system. So anyway, oops, that's it. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And so we are very happy to hear what you've been doing, and thank you so much for all the work that you do. We're sorry to say that a couple of our representatives were not able to be here today, but they are with us in spirit. So I will give you a short summary of each of their projects. The first one is Full Circle Healing Farm, and they applied for support for their Feed Milwaukee project. Full Circle Healing is committed to addressing food injustice in their community by providing access to healthy food to people of color and those living below the poverty line. They provide opportunities for individuals, school groups, youth, and adults to learn how to grow their own food. Participants experience how to start from seed and take plants to grow in their own locations. Full Circle also donates the food that they grow on their farm to local organizations that distribute food to those in need. Seed money was used for compost, seedlings, seeds, and tools. If you would like more details about them, Full Circle Healing was featured in the Wisconsin Farmers Union July newsletter. Unfortunately, they've been scrambling to find more land as the land they're currently stewarding is being reshaped. Full Circle's owners, Martise Scales and Amy Knoll Scales' dream is to have their own land, of course. So they're not subject to these unforeseen disruptions. To that end, they are hosting their 5th annual Taste of Justice fundraiser, which is tomorrow at 6 p.m. at St. Bernadette's Church. This is a great opportunity to learn more about them and to help them make their dream a reality. And the second project is the Fondy Food Center's application, which was for their project called This Project is Garbage. The center initiated this unique project at the Fondy Fondy Food Farm in Mequon and Coal Farm in Granville. The farms, operated by Fondy Food and UW Extension, provide land access to Milwaukee area smallholder, subsistence, direct-to-consumer, and wholesale growers. A consistent problem encountered by many community agricultural projects around the country is the disposal of plastics left in the fields by growers. These plastics break down into microplastics, which are known hazards for human and environmental health. Hmong people make up a substantial portion of the clientele at each site. So through interpretation services, the program seeks to educate and provide training to the farmers to appropriately dispose of plastics once they understand the recalcitrance of plastics on ecosystems. So our seed money supports dumpster rental and removal and interpretation services. So we thank both Fondy Food Center and Full Circle Healing Farm for the work that they are doing in our challenging times. Thank you. So next, we have Paul Muir from the Tall Pines Conservancy, and he will share the story of Ravensholm Victory Gardens, a community-driven gardening operation with a focus on reconnecting people to food and land. It's located at Tall Pines Conservancy, the Ravensholm on the river property, and is intended to serve as a space for bridging the divide between rural and urban communities and connecting people with fresh food and opportunities in agriculture. Our seed money supported materials, signage, and promotion of this new venture. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for the introduction. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay. Excellent. Well, now we'll use the microphone. Thank you very much. I think it's so wonderful to be able to present after seeing so many other wonderful presentations, and it gives me some insight into a lot of the activities and work that we hope to be a part of. So my name is Paul Muir. I work for Tall Pines Conservancy. We are a nonprofit land trust. Our office is actually just right across the street, so this was an awesome venue, nice short walk for us. Our main task, our main mission has been a focus on farmland preservation. And over the years, we actually just celebrated our 25th anniversary this year as a land trust. And over the years, that sort of mission has evolved and developed, and it has sort of changed to think about what farmland preservation really means. And so our Ravensholm Victory Gardens, so a little bit of background on our Ravensholm property. I realized I should have thrown a map up here, as so many others have done. But in December of 2022, Tall Pines Conservancy received a very generous donation of a 260-acre farm just outside of Waukesha. This farm, for those of you familiar with the area, is located off of River Road, so just south of Waukesha West High School. And we have the Fox River flowing through it. Of those 260 acres, 140 of them include tillable land. The farm also includes a historic farmhouse, a historic barn. As part of that donation agreement, we're tasked with developing an agricultural education center. So that's all developments that are in the works. And again, it's so amazing to hear about all these different, I feel like this is the perfect networking event. These are the people in the groups that we need to work with. And so that sort of development and evolution of what it means to be a land trust, what it means to preserve and protect farmland, that mission, that task is always evolving. Preserving farmland, to me, is it's both a personal, but also it's a way of looking at the future. Farmland preservation won't exist if we don't have future interest in what farmland is, and what agriculture is, and bringing other people, getting other people involved with the land, and creating opportunities to engage is really, I think, our new core mission and our new outreach is trying to instill that sense of what the value of farmland is. So the Ravensholm Victory Gardens, I use the name Victory Gardens to sort of represent an idea during World War II and during the Great Depression of creating gardens that are built for resilience. They're meant to provide an opportunity for homeowners and communities to develop their own food production, their own means of resilience, and creating a community space, a community garden center on a 260-acre farm that was donated to our organization. The outcome of it, the intent and purpose is not necessarily to produce food. It's to bring people on the land and get them connected with what that means to produce food. And so that community space, creating resiliency in our communities through food production, and connecting our young people with what it means to be a part of the land and furthering that mission of preservation. So we use the seed money grants that we received to essentially develop the infrastructure for our community garden setup. And this consisted of 8 raised garden beds, a few tillable plots, and sort of putting the motion in place for creating a space that can really thrive and develop into what will be a supported community garden development. As part of that, we've also done some outreach. We did have some challenges with getting set up earlier this year. It was super rainy, and some of our planting and garden setup got delayed because of that. But we now have the infrastructure in place that's necessary to start bringing on partners, to bring in additional school groups, reaching beyond our current boundaries, and trying to bring people onto the farm and be part of this community development to produce food and work with your hands and explore working in the dirt. I had the opportunity. I grew up in rural Illinois, and when I was growing up, I had the opportunity to work on local farms, and that was my first connection to the outdoors, and led to my decision to follow my career path to where I am now as land protection manager with a nonprofit land conservancy. And I want those same opportunities for other people too. I think with our farm being located so closely to downtown Waukesha, it's really in the prime location to bridge that urban and rural divide and to provide those opportunities for others. So, like I said, we have the infrastructure in place now. Our sort of next motion or next task is to really develop the programs and to find those interested in utilizing the garden space and to develop beyond that. So, we have plenty of room to develop outwards from, and we have plenty of organizations and community members that are interested in this type of work and engaging with us. And so next year for us will really be digging into and supporting those developments. And obviously this year we did have some crops that we were harvesting, produce that we were able to take off from the gardens. And a lot of that produce was either donated or used in local food pantries. So building off of that, and building into the Educational Center for Ravens Home, all of the developments that we have yet to come as part of this spectacular property. I think looking forward, the people in front of us, in front of me, are the people that we'll be working with and helping make that happen and welcoming on site. So, with that, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say for the Victory Gardens. I think that's the end of the presentations. Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul. Excited to see where that is going to go. Now that the infrastructure is in place, it's great. And so our next presentation is about the Catholic Ecology Center. And Joe Meyer was not able to come today because he had a conflicting event at their location, which was going to use all of his staff's time. And so Roger is going to do the presentation that he provided, that Joe Meyer provided. So Roger, you want to tell you a little bit about the Catholic Ecology Center. The center taught a series of programs focused on how sustainable growing practices can be applied to personal goals. Our seed money funded the expenses, including speakers' fees, to run the program.
I'm actually the third string quarterback here because Joe was not able to make it, and Dave Williams was going to do it, but he's sick. So, third string quarterback, I hope you don't mind. The Catholic Ecology Center is about 15 miles north of Oconomowoc and 7 miles southwest of Hartford. It's kind of a beautiful place, and we held one of our 5 listening sessions there, which was a wonderful site for doing that. It's the site of the Clare Gardens, and I know Clare Gardens provides food for, I think, at least 2 nursing homes in the Milwaukee area. And so it really is a beautiful space and a beautiful place for growing food. The project is called Growing Gardens Together. It's actually a 3-part educational program this year. One in June and a second one in July, if I remember right, and a third one in September. And I don't remember the 3 foci of it, but the third one was vermiculture. I remember that one. And I think the first one was focusing on just getting a garden set up and going. The goal has been to involve people of all ages, seniors as well as kids, and people of all backgrounds. So it really has been a way of bringing people together. I don't know exactly where the slides are, but let's just kind of go through them kind of quickly. Sustainable Organic Farm to Table project with Clare Gardens. Provides senior living communities in the greater Milwaukee area with regular deliveries of locally grown farm produce. They produce over 20,000 pounds of produce annually, which is a pretty amazing outcome. Goals of educating rural and urban consumers on sources of local foods, informing consumers of the benefits, and focusing on environmentally sound practices, reducing the use of pesticides in monoculture farming, and reducing waste. You can read these yourself, so I don't know that I'll spend a lot of time on it. But there are 3 sessions. Actually, this is it, Saturday, May 4th, Gardening Basics, Preparing and Planting. Saturday, July 6th, the garden ecosystem working within the greater context, and Saturday, September 7th, composting and vermiculture focus. So they had 3 sessions. I think a total of something like 37 participants, so it wasn't a huge number of people, but they felt that it was quite successful in terms of really connecting with the people who did participate. It was a hands-on, experiential kind of thing. We brought together all ages, urban and rural, experienced and new to gardening. And then the rest, I think, are photos of the actual Clare Gardens and the experience. Highlights: 37 attendees, varying ages and experiences. People love getting their hands dirty with gardening and feeling empowered to try something new and composting, composting of their own material. Challenges: attracting participants on summer weekends. That was the biggest issue. And I think they actually had to cancel one session because they just didn't have a large enough attendance. So that's the Catholic Ecology Center in Clare Gardens. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. It is a beautiful place, and I just hope they can get more people to come out. And it's such a great family activity to do. But the one in July is the one that was canceled, and it was July 6th. So that was right after 4th of July. So I don't know how many people were ready to go out again and do something. So it's kind of understandable. Next, we need to try to wrap this up, and it's getting late, and so we're going to have to go pretty quickly on the last 3. Sorry we didn't watch our time a little bit better. So this is the Growing Green project. Alina Prowl from River Edge Nature Center will share how their Growing Green programs provide education that supports nature-rich lifestyles, promotes regenerative actions to improve soil health, and aligns with community needs. Our seed money supports the expenses associated with providing these programs. Alina.
Hello, y'all. My name is Alina. I am the Essential Family and Communities Program Manager at River Edge Nature Center. We're about 40 minutes north of Milwaukee in Saukville, Wisconsin. Growing Green is an initiative that I started alongside coworkers in 2021, 2022, and when Food Faith and Farming hosted one of their listening sessions at River Edge, we tapped into this incredible network, and we're so inspired by a lot of the projects and those associated with the network. All right, Growing Green, now in its 3rd year, supports the interdepartmental workings at River Edge. We have a land management team, and then I work with our education team. We also have a 4-acre permaculture farm, and there wasn't a ton of programming associated with it. So we were able to tap into the expertise of our land management crew, the farm managers, farm assistants, to reinvigorate some educational programming for the public around that space. River Edge is a conservation, education, and connection-focused nonprofit. We connect folks to the land and community through educational programming, through inquiry-based school programs, nature-based early childhood education, experiential adventure programs, seasonal family festivals, continued learning for adults, community outreach, and opportunities for volunteers. This permaculture farm and our children's garden touch all of this programming. So being able to highlight growing food on the farm and in the garden has been such a joy. So I'll go through some of the programs that we offer this year pretty quickly. opportunity. Our farm manager knows a lot about garlic. So volunteers who came had the opportunity to learn while they helped us plant garlic for the next season. A lot of the produce from the farm is sold at farmers markets through the Washington and Ozaukee County Recco Wings, at Drewport Market in Port Washington, and then in our visitor center. Some is also used for our farm-to-table dinner, our Yule log stew, and some for our maple syrup supper. These are all fundraisers. So the little food that is grown on the land then supports or is enjoyed by our community and our membership. We also have an annual shiitake mushroom cultivation workshop, which is a pretty fun and unique experience. Participants can inoculate logs harvested from the land with spores and wax and take it home. This is Hannah, our wonderful volunteer manager, Amanda, and her daughter. We recently had an overwintering garden work and learn, another service learning opportunity. This was a really neat one that epitomizes one of my favorite parts about the Growing Green program is how intergenerational it is. We had toddlers at this program, and we had retirees who are regulars at our Habitat Healers volunteer group. So this was great. The children's garden is used for our summer camp, for school field trips, which serve kids from Milwaukee, Oregon, Washington, and Ozaukee counties primarily. But thousands of kids come out, and some specifically do gardening programs. And then our summer campers, we have garden camps where they work in the garden, and the older summer campers in garden camp learn to cook with the foods. We have also been able to offer semi-regular farm tours of the River Edge Permaculture Farm, which is a unique model that utilizes a lot of alternative or maybe more of a return to earth-minded agricultural techniques that can inspire home growers in their own practices. Again, these are very intergenerational. We see families coming, bringing their kids, people at different points in their own gardening projects who are looking for insights and ideas or different things to try. We also have a compost looking your soil class every year that we've done Growing Green. So as this program series has evolved, we've pinpointed some popular classes to offer regularly, this being one, which was wonderful because we got to work with Marianne Heim, who ran the Wellspring Education Center, which is neighboring us just across the Milwaukee River in Newburgh. And since the sunset of the majority of that organization's operations, it has become the Wellspring campus of the River Edge Nature Center. And we get to continue some of her programming and passion through the Growing Green process. We are also able to host Angie Curtis, who runs a compost operation out near Cedar Lakes. We had a farm tour on her site last season, but she came to share her insights for this class. We had another popular class, Planting a Garden, this spring, just a wonderful presentation turned roundtable of folks sharing their knowledge and insights and connecting on the shared passion of gardening. This was a super fun one. Two of my dear friends, Bree and Luke, have worked at River Edge as environmental educators and coordinating our community rivers programs until recently. Well, they've gone full-time with their sheep and alpaca shearing business. So they graciously offered to allow participants to observe their operation. And at a farm in Cedarburg, they were shearing sheep and Angora goats, demonstrating what they do for the public. Super fun. And then, while this was not a part of the Growing Green series, I wanted to include it because Anna March presented last year at the Season. She's involved with Recco Wings. She has her own local flower farm. And she was able to host a class at River Edge. It was really fun and brought a lot of joy to all the participants. All right, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Our next presenter will be Sonia Santiago from the Journey Disaster Response Team in Kenosha. They host food events in partnerships with local organizations in food insecure neighborhoods. The events offer the opportunity to also provide peer support and foster trusting relationships.
Super hard to follow all of that. I feel like I have to start gardening now. So my name is Sylvia Rangel. Thank you so much for having me. I will be quick, I promise. I am the executive admin for the Journey Disaster Response Team. We were started in 2017, and we operate and are located in southeastern Wisconsin. So the DRT is a faith-based volunteer organization with the goal to recruit, train, and deploy a team of volunteers who can use their skills and talents in partnership with cross-functional organization and augment existing resources, to serve local churches and organizations, and to build networks and relationships. It is our goal to respond to disasters, to prepare the community through education and awareness, but it is our heart and mission to share God's love and grace, meeting people wherever they are, whoever they are, and offering them hope. Most recently, the DRT has been responding to the food insecurity that is in our local communities, as well as providing fresh food options of quality in local food deserts near us. It is our partnerships with local churches, groups, and organizations that help drive our efforts and impact. It is because of generous donors and sponsors that enable us to be the hands and feet of Jesus in our local communities, to our neighbors, to our friends, and to our first responders. On behalf of my director, Jeff Berard, and the entire DRT team, we thank you and are incredibly humbled and honored to not only serve with you and alongside you, but to work in this community, and we're grateful that you decided to partner with us. Although it's not growing food, part of our mission is providing hope to the community wherever we touch base with them. And so having fresh food options is just a tangible resource of how we can impact people with both kindness, peace, and love. And so having those food options and providing them to people who are in need gives us that opportunity, to be a kind soul to them, to minister to them, to hear them out. Our volunteers also provide chaplain support and emotional and spiritual support to these individuals when we're doing our local food drives. And so those pop-up food drives are done several times throughout the month. And it's just a great way, to interact with our community, and we love what we do. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
And so our last speaker is going to be Sister Janet Weicker from Racine Dominicans, who collaborated with the Skiing Interfaith Coalition and North Point United Methodist Church to initiate a food waste composting pilot program. They're working to educate and motivate youth and adults on the value of composting food waste. RC Money supported the expenses associated with setting up the site and transporting the compost to the compost collection site.
Thank you, Trudy. This is really a gathering of kindred spirits. I can relate to so many of you, and some of you I've worked with in the past. And indeed, we are a network already, because our hearts are doing the same kind of thing. And as Chief Seattle said, everything is connected. When we work on one social problem or environmental problem, we're working on all of them indirectly. So thank you for having us here today. And I will try also to follow Sonia's example of clear and quick presentation. Oh, and I went the wrong direction. Okay, so thank you for this opportunity, and our group worked through an organization called the Racine Interfaith Coalition, a gathering of many churches, and we have 5 main focus committees. And we belong to the Earth Justice Committee. And it's out of that committee that we did our work to start a pilot program in Racine on food waste collection. And if you see Racine Urban Garden Network is recognized as one of our collaborators. And we worked with several other groups in Racine as well, and that helped our action grow. The mission of the coalition is it's a faith-based organization that tries to inspire and advocate, get people to advocate for social justice issues around the world. And our committee in particular works on environmental aspects. And so this food waste composting program was our effort to make our world more sustainable through reducing the amount of food waste that goes into landfills. And many of your groups mentioned, what do you do with that food waste? When it goes into a landfill, it rots, it produces methane gas, which causes global warming or contributes a large amount of gas to that problem. And we know that global warming also affects the poor in the most, to the greatest extent. So the goals of our program were to create this pilot program, testing it out. Is it going to work for our city? And we wanted to educate the public about the benefits of composting and reduce the amount of food waste going into landfills, tons of it a year. And by reducing that, it could reduce the tipping costs for the city, plus have that great benefit to the environment. We wanted to establish a central drop-off site, since curbside delivery would have been out of our price range, or most people's price range. And when we started, we hoped to recruit enough people to pay for the program for at least the first 8 months. We are now 7 months into the program, and by the time we started it in April, we have enough households already signed up to cover the costs for the entire year. And we also wanted this program not just to serve us for these few months, but to work itself to be a movement with the eventual goal that the entire city of 88,000 households would participate in some kind of food waste program. What we used your funds for were the purchase of stainless steel kitchen caddies. We offered those to the first 43 households that signed up for the program as an incentive. We also had brochures about the program printed both in English and in Spanish. And when we held the kickoff event, we had a speaker, and that your funds also helped pay for her fee. So the kickoff event happened on April 20th. You probably don't remember the day, but the three of us that are here today certainly do. It was sunny, but it was windy, and it was cold, and we were wearing our winter clothes. And we had a great turnout of about 50 people. Many of them came and they picked up their compost caddy of the time. We had the owner and founder of Compost Crusader come out and give the main speech at the event. And it was a wonderful turnout. We also had good signage, and a lot of publicity went into it before we had that program. We were blessed to have a retired reporter from the Racine Journal-Times. He did an article that helped publicize it. We also had great people in our committee. Linda, who's with me, served on a committee that got a similar program started in the village of Sturtevant. And she was a great connector with our contact people at Compost Crusader. And Anita was a former teacher, and she was great at helping getting the posters made. We also had a county supervisor and the head of Unity Racine serve on our committee. So we had a lot of expert help, and we collaborated with other civic groups, including the Racine Urban Garden Network, as I mentioned. So currently we have 78 households that are registered, and they pay $25 for this pilot program. And just yesterday, we sent out the renewal form for the entire next year. It will no longer be a pilot, but an annual program in the city. Members of our committee, as well as some of the people who heard about the program, said, well, I compost already in my backyard. I don't need this service, but I'll pay the $25 anyway, just in case there's somebody who wants to join the program, but they can't afford it. So we had 11 scholarships available to families that were low income. Our first site was at North Point United Methodist Church. They already had a food pantry program going, and they are very environmentally minded anyway, so that was a perfect site for it. As soon as we got that one going, we said, I think we should get another site more in the middle of the city. So our second site was identified as Christ Church United Methodist, and they were about midtown, and that program began in July. We have a third site in mind, but we want to wait until the second site gets a little bit stronger. So in the 6 months that this has been going, 6 or 7 now, as of yesterday, at our last collection date, we have collected 10,234 pounds of food waste that otherwise would have gone into a landfill. And every month, Compost Crusader, no, it's every week, they give us a printout of how much waste they collect at each site and the equivalent of what it helps environmentally. So it's the equivalent of having planted 66 trees, or not driving 10,151 miles, or saving 69 gallons of gas that otherwise would have put carbon emissions into the air. We have offshoots of this program now. I also work on our community's Lodato Sea action team, so I've been telling that committee about what's happening in the city. Sienna Center is our mother house. It's also the site of a retreat center and a healthcare facility run by Ascension Living. At Sienna Center, they prepare meals for over 150 people 3 times a day. And they produce food waste. I think it was in the beginning of July, someone said, you know, we ought to have a collection site here as well. And so by the time we got to mid-July, Sienna Center became a compost site too. And they have a much larger bin. They have a 96-gallon bin. And we're in the initial stages of working with the Racine Catholic Schools to see if they will start a compost collection site at their high school. And when Linda and Anita came to my house this morning, I was so excited. I had just read on the email, one of the women who is a member of our registered group said she's a principal of a public school in Racine, and she said the school system would be a great place to start the composting program. So I wrote to her this morning and I said, give me a date and let's get together and see what we can do to make this a reality in the Racine Public Schools. So it's exciting, our movement is growing. But the challenges that we face are these. It's hard to change habits. Convenience is so easy. You throw your food waste in the trash, and then we know it goes to a landfill. And it also takes a little bit more effort and mindfulness, so we gotta change those habits. And trying to get a program started in an institution, whether that's a hospital, a restaurant, a business, or a school, staffing and financing is always a question. So we're gonna see if we can find a champion in each of those places that will think, I'll be willing to spearhead this composting program. I will help organize it. You need that because money alone won't make the program work. It needs people who are passionate about saving our planet. And we as a committee, we're mighty small, but mighty people. There are about 7 of us that meet either in person or through Zoom meetings, about every 6 weeks to talk about this. We want to keep the program moving and grow awareness, continue education, put more articles out, things in the media. And we would like to get the city more involved. When we first started this program, we tried to work with the Department of Public Works. Donna can attest, she was on our first part of the committee. We had several meetings with the Department of Public Works, and it was like they were really dragging their feet. They were less than enthusiastic. So we hope in the future they will have a change of heart. And it would be great if we could make this a public service that the city would offer Racine in the future. So we want to say again, thank you to the Food, Faith, and Farming Network for the help you gave us to get this program going. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Janet. It's inspiring to hear what can happen when somebody has the passion and energy to bring together the people who will be able to carry out the mission and to see the results and how far it's expanded already. So in 1 year, I think you've done a marvelous job. And so I'm now thanking everybody for their presentations, and I will turn the microphone over to Roger to do closing remarks.
Well, a huge thank you to everyone who attended and all of you who presented today, took the time to develop presentations and come and share your plans and successes as well as challenges, Sister Janet. Thank you. Each one of these projects had challenges, I'm sure, but you found ways of getting through them. As a graduate of Waukesha High School, I'm incredibly pleased with the program that's been developed there, the Embedded Agriculture Program. I spent 4 years in the Vocational Agriculture Program at Waukesha High School, and then it went away. I'm not sure when it went away, but it went away for decades. And so it's just very inspiring to see that you're starting something called Embedded Agriculture at Waukesha High School, so thank you. And Waukesha over here as well with Tall Pines, and I'm delighted to hear of your progress with your project. So thank you to everybody. We're very appreciative for your being here. It's been exciting to hear about your projects. Just a few announcements. One is if you haven't visited our table at the back, please do so. There are brochures on the Food, Faith, and Farming Network, and also some summaries of projects in southwestern Wisconsin for the past 2 years and also the previous 5 years before that. We invite you to take copies of those brochures or those summaries of projects. Secondly, we want you to be aware that the Seed Money Initiative in southeastern Wisconsin has been an opportunity for us to expand our mission and to support your noble efforts in this area of the state. But I do need to say this. We regret that we don't have the funding or the bandwidth to continue seed money projects for the next year. And I wish we could, but right now we just don't have the funding or the organizational bandwidth to make it happen. So keep doing what you're doing, will you? I think it's important work, and I hope that you'll continue doing it. We hope also that you'll visit our website and or our e-newsletter and make sure that you stay up to date on what we are doing as an organization. And third, if you have some spare change or would like to send us a check, we'd love to hear from you. So finances are always an important issue with a voluntary organization. So if you could help out, that'd be great. With that, I think I'll close it down. Please continue even networking today. Our real goal is to establish some networking. I hope you'll continue the conversations and get to know each other, get to start developing what's the word I want to use? Synergy that can come out of multiple efforts working together. And I I think this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. So again, thank you, and have a great trip home, and continue your good work, if you would.